Hello Libra, welcome back to the channel and welcome to your 2025 Astroclock. If you're new here, Libra, welcome. I'm so delighted that you stopped by. I'm Layla, the Lenormand reader, and I use this amazing Lenormand deck. So Libra, here we are in 2025. It is so exciting for me to be doing yet another Astroclock. I decided to stick with the Astroclocks again this year because they are pretty unique and pretty popular as well with you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I am ready for your 2025 Astroclock, Libra. I hope you are too. Now, if you're new to this, you might know the Astroclock is a very big spread. It uses all 36 cards of the Lenormand deck, and I lay them out in a clock kind of configuration. There are 12 groups of 3 cards. The Lenormand deck has 36 cards, so it divides nicely into 12 months of 3 cards each. So Libra, I am ready to deal out your Astroclock. Let us see what 2025 has in store for you. Okay Libra, here is your Astroclock. As you can see, it's a big spread and I'm trying to fit everything into view so that it's reasonably into view. And as you can see, we have these 12 groups of 3 cards each, and each group represents a month of the year. You might have noticed that I start dealing at midnight, but actually I start reading at 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock is January and I go around the clock clockwise all the way up to December. Before I get to the month-to-month reading of the 3 cards, I like to get an overview of the Astroclock. I like to orient myself and sort of pick out the positive cards, the challenging cards, the people cards, etc. So February stands out as a very bright month, thanks to the sun. We have people cards earlier here. We have the garden, the dog, the woman, the house. The writer is potentially a person card. And then we have the man in July. We have the beautiful star and key in August. Whip in September. This is probably a challenging month or a month that might require change. And actually we do see change here. And we have the beautiful clover in November. Travel. Travel would be with the ship, but I see it with the coffin. So I'm not so sure about travel. We have the road and snake here. This is a potentially tricky triplet. It's going to be interesting what this means. We have the mouse in here, also a bit challenging. And that's about it. I have to say that, yeah, I mean, the clouds is not super challenging. I would say the whip being in September, I think this would be, if any month, it would be the challenging month. But I have to say, Libra, that your Astroclock as a whole is looking pretty peaceful. So it's, you know, I usually see 2 to 3 challenging months in an Astroclock, but for you, you know, with the mouse, yeah, maybe these ones here, they're not dramatic though. And other cards sort of absorb them. So we don't have like a concentration of challenging cards. We just have the whip in here. And it's looking pretty bright. So let's go ahead and dive in, Libra. Let's start reading the month to month. In January, we have the dog, mountain, and ring. Obviously, this is a relationship. We have both the ring and dog in here. And usually, or in my dictionary, the dog and ring usually suggests a relationship that's growing out of a friendship. So this could be about love, and it could be in process or developing. The mountain can mean that there's some distance between you and the other person, so perhaps you live in different locations. It can also be a relationship that you have online. Now, it doesn't have to be love. It can be other relationships. It can mean some kind of collaboration or other connections that you have. When we get to the monthly forecasts in depth, we will get into what this relationship is about. In February, we have the garden, child, and sun. This is a very happy triplet. The child is about new beginnings, and the garden is about people and places, and the sun is all around happiness and healing. So it looks like you are going to enjoy some really good times, meeting new people, going to new places. I have to wonder, Libra, if February might not build on January. You could be making this connection abroad and maybe you end up meeting each other. So that is exciting. In March, we have the rider, moon, and clouds. Now this is probably an offer, a proposal that comes through this rider here. But the clouds is a little bit challenging. It can suggest doubts and question marks. So Libra, if you have doubts about an offer, you might need to think about it more. And of course, when we draw the monthly forecast, we'll see how it turns out or what kind of decision you make. The clouds and moon also brings up what I call the dark side of the moon. So it's more like the shadow element at play when these two show up. And with the Rider here, you might be invited, Libra, to think about certain patterns or maybe get into yourself a bit more. But more generally, like in a more day-to-day way, I think this is about thinking through an offer or a proposal. Possibly we can stretch the cards to suggest that an invitation doesn't go so well, or that it brings up question marks. That too is possible. I think best take your time with whatever decision in March. Moving on to April, we have the Mouse with the House and the Woman, and I think this could build on this one. That's interesting because we see them after the Garden, where you're meeting new people. So I think maybe there can be some initial excitement, but then some things start to come up and you discover that this is not such a great opportunity. And I have to say, Libra, that it could continue all the way up to June. So the Mouse is a card of annoyances and problems. They're not a huge deal. But they can suggest mistrust and doubts and possibly pettiness and things like that. The House can represent home and family, and the Woman represents just about anyone, but usually it represents someone who's pretty important to you. And the House isn't always about home and family. It could be any space, like a colleague at work or someone in some environment that you're part of, like a hobby space and things like that. But with the Mouse, you could be having doubts about this person and also this space. So this could be a bit annoying. Now, in May, we have a similar theme that continues. We have the Fox, which is often someone deceptive. And with the Flowers, I often take the Fox and Flowers to suggest someone who is shallow and false to your face, the type who's nice in front of you but not so nice behind your back. And with the Bird, there can be either a conversation, or I'm suspecting something like gossip or shallow conversations like that. So that could be a continuation on what's going on here, where you're having doubts about a person and you're not so, like the cards are highlighting that they're not really genuine. Now, we can read the cards differently though. We can look at the Fox as a card of work, and it's great with jobs. And so we see it with the Flowers, which could be a really good thing happening work-wise, or however it is you work, whether it's a job or a project or other activities that you're part of if you don't work, for example. The Bird is usually a card of conversation, so maybe you are negotiating an opportunity here. It's a good idea in this case, Libra, that you focus on negotiating for your self-interest. So try to highlight yourself and, focus on your own goals. So try to put yourself first. Now, if I were to read these cards, a little bit in the context of work, it's possible that currently, or in April, you are, you're struggling with your job, or perhaps there are some annoyances on the job. So maybe you're looking for something else. But also, the cards in May can be an opportunity to resolve certain issues through a good conversation and being nice and diplomatic. So these two these ideas can also materialize. Now in June, we have the Fish card, and the Fish is often the card of money, wealth, abundance, and we see it with the Snake. Now the Snake is generally a toxic and challenging card, a bit worse than the Fox. But I personally like to see the Snake with the Fish because it represents someone who is very clever and sharp with money. And so you could be very clear about your financial goals. At the same time, Libra, we have both the Road and Snake in the triplet. And both of these cards are winding cards. So they're roundabout. It's the indirect route to get to something. So you might need to navigate certain issues or situations for your work, your money, your business, and these areas. I also want to suggest, Libra, that you keep your goals and your strategy under your hat. The snake is a card of secrecy, and it's very discreet. So I would keep these to myself. The snake can also be a very good negotiator. So it's more of a charmer. Well, the foxes can be quite a charmer as well. But the snake is really good at really, ensnaring you into how it wants things to be. So you might want to also use the power of the snake to try to get what you want. Be calm, calculated, and you can charm the birds of the trees. But I also think that when we back up to the previous cards and this new beginning, it sounds like you're looking for the right path for you. And initially you have some really good inspiration or some bright ideas that pull you through. But I think starting from March all the way up to June, there is a bit of a reality check where you seem to step back and you're not so sure about how things work out. So you sort of step back and you're trying to figure out what is the best way forward, navigating some potentially annoying people and situations like that. But I still like the fish and snake, and I still think you are on the right track to achieving your goals. It might not be the most direct route, it might not be happening very quickly or maybe even easily, but I think you're on the right track. I would say awareness is very, very key. Moving on to July, we have the Bookman and Tower. So the book is often the card of the unknown. So this can be someone you haven't met yet, represented by the man. And the Tower often represents people in authority, specialists, experts, consultants, people like that. It can also represent a certain business environment or something official or a certain institution. So I think you could be meeting someone who's pretty important, or maybe this is about an interview or something like that, or it can be other matters, of course, in your life. Now, another thing is that the Tower can represent the past. So perhaps this is about reconnecting with someone that had been out of touch for some time. So the focus here is on relationships, and the cards are pretty neutral. So it's neither positive or challenging. It's just highlighting the action and the focus. August is looking really exciting. We have the Key and Star. These are two of the brightest cards of the deck, and we see them with the Scythe. I often take the Scythe with very positive cards like that to represent a breakthrough. So you get a really good opportunity. It might come unexpectedly, it might come quickly. So this is a beautiful triplet, especially in view of the previous cards. I have to say, Libra, that there is a lot of quietness in these cards here. We have the Book, the Tower is slow, the Snake is silent, the Fox is silent, the Mouse is a bit annoying, the House is more private, the Clouds is about thoughts and thinking. So I feel that from March all the way up to July, there's like a really quiet phase, and it's probably because things are in the works, you are navigating certain situations, you're trying to figure out your direction, and you're dealing with probably all sorts of things here. But then come July, you meet this person, and then there's a breakthrough in August. I think we can build on the previous cards here. And of course, you don't have to, string all of the months, but, sometimes it makes sense, sometimes not. And there's a breakthrough here. So this can relieve you and give you a sense of freedom. And that was my impression from the beginning, that the Whip in September, yes, it's a challenging card, but because it figures next to the Lily and Anchor, it's more about a release, which is similar to what we see in August. The Lily and Anchor are stable cards. They're more like the status quo. And the Whip really comes here to shake things up. And I think it starts here in August. So it's like this opportunity gives you the freedom to change. It's possible that during this phase you were sort of stuck, but then there's this breakthrough and you have an opportunity to sort of, just throw things off your chest, off your shoulders. So this can be a very freeing 2 months here between August and September. And I think it continues into October because of the Stork. The Stork is a card of change, and it's another one of those cards that clears things up. So it really shakes things out. It is the card of moves, so it's a very active card. We see it with the Tree and Bear. This is very much a combination of promotion, improvements, increase of any kind. on the job, it would be a promotion. It can suggest wealth improves, you know, some kind of your status improves and things like that. So this is a pretty relieving phase of the year, which comes after a time of quietness and sort of things baking or forming and being figured out. In November, we have also a very beautiful triplet. We have the heart, clover, and cross. And I have to say, these are more on the intangible side of things. The clover is about good fortune. The heart is about feelings and joy and sometimes love. And the cross is a card of deeper matters, destiny, and things like that. So this is looking like a pretty spiritual, psycho-spiritual, inner kind of month where there's a lot of tuning in to your path, your good, your sense of direction. You know, all of these things could be highlighted for you this month. More generally, these are some very lucky cards that could bring you a lot of good luck. And also, I think it's a good idea to pay attention to the signs. The cross and clover really highlight that element of, you know, the signs and, you know, seeing these guideposts in your life and feeling aligned with them. So I think it's a triplet that stands out a little bit from the rest. You know, it's really intangible. So this can feel like a really strong inner month where you have a lot of sense of awareness about yourself, your direction, and your good. So really nice cards. It's nice that they come after this. I think you find alignment after the changes here that are pretty, you know, they're pretty strong. You know, they sort of shake your life a little bit. So it can feel relieving and empowering, especially after the October cards. Now, December is the coffin, ship, and letter, and this could be the end of a journey, but I also think you might postpone a journey. I would have said it's the end of a journey if we had the coffin after the ship. That's like, you know, traveling and ending. But we have the coffin before the ship, and then we have the letter. And the letter is a card of news and paperwork, documents, and things like that. So the first thing that comes to mind when I see this triplet is that you might postpone a trip, you might cancel your booking, and you know, things like that. But also, it could be a combination of communication. We have the letter at the end, the ship in the middle, and the coffin here. So it's possible that you wait before you communicate something. That could be if you're the one who's communicating the news, but it could also be receiving the news, right? So the coffin again slows things down, but it looks like you will get the news. Now the ship is an active and proactive card, so I also suggest, Libra, that you might need to follow up on things in December. You might wait a little bit, but then you might need to follow up so that you can get answers. And what context this figures in, it's going to depend. We don't really see that from just 3 cards, and it's essentially the same for all of the triplets here in the Astroclock. They could apply for different areas of your life. So here it could be about physical travel, or it could be about other projects as well. The idea is that you're waiting to make a move and to follow up and to get answers. So overall, Libra, I think there are clear phases in the year. At the outset, there are some new steps, there are connections, relationships are highlighted. It looks like they open doors. And then March all the way up to July, there's what I feel is a really silent or quiet phase where things are forming on the inside. And that's quite a few months. So that's 3-5 months where things are in the works and forming. Now, I don't think, you know, just because of the process that's happening here, you don't have to put your whole life on hold. But I think it's important to pay attention to what is going on in your life on different levels. And I think it's important to pay attention to the layers, to the people around you, and what you really want. I think that will help. And then there's like a relieving 3 months here where things sort of come out from this phase, and it's looking really bright all the way up to November. So very beautiful here, these last few months of the year. I think December is a little bit different. I think something else is going on here, but I think these cards sort of tie in together, where there's a breakthrough and relieving things that happen that put you in alignment with your sense of direction and your sense of self. So very beautiful cards and very empowering. So quite a unique Astroclock, I would say, Libra, with these clear deer marks throughout the year. I really look forward to your thoughts about this, how you resonated with it. Are you already having visions for 2025? Do you feel that the Astroclock aligns with your, with your thoughts, with your vision? Leave me a comment or two or more. And thank you so much for tuning in, Libra. I'm delighted that you're here. I hope you will stick around for the forecasts. Like I said, we will take each of the Astroclock groups for each of the months, and then we do a deeper dive in them with the monthly forecast. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that. Very best of luck with the year, Libra. I wish you the very best for 2025. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, take very good care of yourself.